What up, everybody, and welcome back to Tail of the Tape, brought to you by Gym Bag Entertainment, and this is your combat sports show by guys who love combat sports. As always, it's your host, Craig, here with my co-host,
your boy Mike.
And we got a special guest today. Let me run through the introduction. We got Nico DiSciullo, originally out of Somerville, fighting out of Sidyatong, Boston. 11-2 with one no contest. Bantamweight fighter and commentator for Combat FC. Rico, how you doing?
Ultimate Fighter alumni. Can't be forgetting
alumni.
You know, got to name it all.
Absolutely.
Doing good. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, man. Happy to have you on the show. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. We appreciate it very much.
Gracing our little program with your presence.
Absolutely. And so, we want to start the show, give people an idea of who you are. We do know that you fought on The Ultimate Fighter, and you fought in Bellator and other fight promotions. But what's your origin story, man? How'd you get started in combat sports?
Yeah, so let's go back to being a little kid. When I was a little kid, I got into karate following my brother and neighborhood kids that got into it.
Yeah.
I believe it or not, I started in Peabody at Bruce McCrory's martial arts when I was 3 or 4 years old. But as I got older, I tried to do every sport I possibly could. My buddies would pull me into a sport, and I'd kind of follow it and get into it. And I just was crazy about sports and competition. Kind of obsessed, to be honest. But I always wanted to. It was funny because as everybody started doing other sports, I always went back to trying to find a place to box or this, that, whatever. And try to do martial arts. And I didn't really have too much, so I ended up falling into sports, whatever. And then but I stayed with karate. Everybody fell off. I stayed with it. Started training with older kids. And my coaches realized all right, this kid's really good. He's I was 6 years old. I thought I was gonna be a Ninja Turtle or something. For real, I was into it.
That's awesome.
I got pictures of me as a kid. I was not I was serious about it. You know what I mean? I thought I didn't even know where to find a place to fight.
That's
I thought I was gonna it was in my blood. I just thought I was gonna be a fighter when I grew up. And so I started training with kids 3 or 4 years older than me, sparring with them and stuff, and did really well with that. And then from there, I found just local boxing places, going in, grab some just bag work and whatever, and always found myself going back to that. But then when I graduated high school, I played lacrosse in high school with GBL champs. From there, I have a business over in my family business over in Everett, which is right near Somerville. So I moved out there, not sure if I was going to go to college, what I was going to do, if I was going to just work, family business, or try some other stuff. And I literally went for a jog over, and I lived in Pinckney Street in Somerville, right behind Sullivan Square. Literally a block away from SIT. So I went for a run. And this was back in the day, over 10 years ago, when they just had the basement level. It was real gritty gym, nothing but nasty, hardcore fighters. It was a fighter's gym.
I spent a little time down there.
Yeah, so that gym, back when people were training and fighting out of there 10, 15 years ago, you had the best of the best guys coming from all over New England.
Kenny Florian always there.
Yeah, traveling. People would travel to go there specifically because it was a fight gym. You know what I mean? I don't even think they had a kids program back then. It was just straight up they trained Muay Thai. They had classes for Muay Thai, and they had classes for people trying to be pro or professional fighting, because they didn't even have amateur at that time.
Wow.
Right.
So this was so far back
before sanctioning in Massachusetts, even for mixed martial arts.
I've been training over there since the development of the sport. When they started to bring in. So my buddy Tateki Matsuda, who I still train with, shout out to Tech, kid's a legend in the game, right? So he came from Japan, and he was here on a work visa, but he was training here, and he lived in the gym. So he didn't even speak English. He was coming here from Japan.
Yeah. He
got his, I think, purple belt in Brazil, but was training here to, do Muay Thai and fight, because he had to fight professionally. Because he was already... so if you're a pro in one aspect, you have to stay pro.
Yes.
With every sport you do, boxing, kickboxing, anything. So I was learning through him and helping him with English and stuff. So he was a 35er as well. So he was me and him were super tight, because all the other guys were a lot bigger at that point. Most of them. We had a couple of small guys. That gym was actually the only place that had probably a couple small guys that were learning, but a lot of the other guys were real big, Big John Johnson, 6'6", champion. You know what I mean? Tim Sylvia would come through there, real big guys.
That's amazing.
What's his face? Just passed away not too long ago. Was the Ultimate Fighter. Man, that.
I know who you're talking about too.
Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner. Stephen Bonner would go through there. Got big guys. You know what I mean? Legends. You know what I mean? And this is when MMA was just getting going. You know what I mean? So. Like I said, I met Tateki through there, and he kind of taught me back and forth. We would go back and forth. I would help him with English, this, that, whatever. But then there would be promotions around the area that were just starting. MMA would be sanctioned in like New York or wherever, so we'd have to travel, and then it started getting big in Mass. I think there was a couple organizations that opened up, but for the most part, all those guys fought pro. I was the first one that they started allowing amateur.
All right.
So it was cool for me because I learned.
The door for that.
Well, like a couple of our guys, but it was just the timing, right? It was the timing. So I was actually allowed to fight amateur,
and that's interesting because, like you said, it's only been about 10 years that the scene has blown up like that.
The first fight I had as an amateur was 2010.
Yeah.
So that's when it was just starting to get going.
Right.
And like before that, I think 2009 or 8, I don't think they had amateur. So it was like right on that cusp of you know. Now we can pump out fights. Like after my fourth fight, I was fighting the #1 guys in New England.
Yeah.
You know, then from there, I was getting a little bit of sponsorship money. They flew me down to Florida. I fought for a big tournament, Rise of a Warrior. I fought in, you know, Oklahoma. I fought in other places throughout the state. So now it gave me that experience that I needed from other places and traveling and being the bad guy and getting booed. And like, I loved it.
That's got to be the best, to be the bad guy. There's no expectation.
I can't imagine people in Oklahoma like the Boston guy.
Well, we had a connection, man, but like 90% of me hated me. I loved it. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It was the best, man, because like, you know, it gives you that experience that you need to go pro. So
of course,
it was great. It was a great experience, man. I loved it.
And then what was your first pro fight?
So right around that time, I trained for a couple years over at SIT, and you know, we had a really good, like, we had like one of the better, like, well-rounded gyms, right? We had black belts under Daniel Gracie over there for jiu-jitsu. We had like high level, a little bit of everything. You know, a really good buddy of mine, Jimbo Slice, was like really good wrestler for MMA especially. So he would work with our wrestling and stuff. But so I fought for my first fight was combat. No, what was it called? I was in Chicopee, Mass. It was I can't think of the name of it. Premier FC.
Okay, yeah.
Premier FC over in like Chicopee, and it was in like a strip club parking lot. It was like it was dope as hell.
Yeah,
it was
sounds pretty cool.
I'm not gonna lie, it was like out of a movie. We're in the parking lot, you know, fighting it was a real quick fight. I was like, you know, trained for a long time for this, really pent up, came in, knocked the dude out cold in like 12 seconds. It was pretty vicious.
Yeah.
But
I gotta imagine a quick finish like that has to be satisfying, but a part of you has to be like, man, I trained way too hard for that.
Yeah, I mean, that particular one was all right because like literally come out, like threw some leg kicks, exchange, got a big dump, you know, threw some punches. I got like a little bit of fight out of me.
Yeah,
like, it's weird when you come out and you throw an exchange, someone slips it,
one punch,
and it's over, and you're just like, what the hell
you
happened?
feel let down on the one punch.
It was like,
but you get to do some work all around, and then you're dialed in forever. Right?
Well, I mean, it hooks you. The thing was,
you must be hooked forever.
I got hooked, man. Like right there, like I had like 200 of my buddies travel from there because I was like in my 20s. You know what I'm saying? So we had like a squad, and it was and it was wild. And then afterwards, you can imagine how that goes. You go inside for the party.
God,
so you got half a strip club, half bar.
Hyped up on piss and vinegar. Yeah, man, it's gonna be a night.
It was a night.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
The other guy might not have had as good as a night.
Oh, man, dude, no.
So let's talk about your time on The Ultimate Fighter, man. I've never spoken to anybody who's been on The Ultimate Fighter. What is that experience like, just being in the house and working with guys like Conor McGregor, meeting guys like Michael Chandler?
Yeah, it was wild. So I actually met Michael Chandler before for my first pro fight for Bellator. Because I made my debut for Bellator.
Yeah, that's true.
And we were on the same card, and I don't know, he rubbed me the wrong way because maybe this was years ago. Like I said, this was 2013 probably. I had probably one of the best knockouts I ever had in my life. Like it was incredible. Like better than the one on The Ultimate Fighter, man.
Yeah.
It was crazy. This kid, had like 3 or 4 or 5 more fights than me. He was, already a prospect. This was my debut. I had a lot of amateur fights, so I was already known on the scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was one of those first guys that really traveled and fought amateur. So like everybody knew who I was. I already had 15 fights as an amateur. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like people in the local scene knew who I was.
Right.
So I got that opportunity. Not a lot of people are gonna get a pro debut for Bellator. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Right. That surprised me when I looked down at your record.
But that's why, because I had the experience against top guys that are already pro now. And dude, I fucking absolutely killed it. Dude went for an armbar, I dump him, slam him, a couple uppercuts, I feel I'm getting weak, and I just absolutely landed some really clean elbows that we worked on, and he just slept. Like he was out cold for like 5 minutes. They had to stop the show.
Wow.
It was kind of scary to be honest, because it was like an emotional dump, and I got the finish, and I was in some dangerous positions.
Yeah.
So it was like I got through some things that we worked on, some guillotines. You know, the kid had a good submission game, some arm bars, things like that. Right. And like I got through it perfectly, just how we trained, and I got the big finish. And then he's just not waking up. He's like out, and I'm just like, oh, and I'm running around like going nuts, and then I look back, and I'm just like. Oh,
yeah,
you feel like you just like you feel terrible. Luckily,
it goes from being so proud of yourself to just worried about this guy.
Yeah, I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie. And then they stretched. They grabbed the stretcher. He woke up. He was fine, but I don't think he ever fought again, man.
No,
he was like a big time prospect too. And like, but that's the game.
That is the game.
That's the game. People don't realize that.
It is. You know, you put your health at risk. You go out there.
Yeah, so after that, I kept pumping. I had a couple more fights with them, which all went really, really well. I had a great time in Bellator. One no contest, but after that I had a couple, because the kid, I need him as he's like playing that game.
Yeah,
I was smoking him, dude, and he was like, playing that. Oh, I want the foul. I don't want to get hit.
Yeah, and those guys always gonna say I can't continue, so they get the dub, they get the no contest or the dub.
But I got that rematch back. But the only problem was it was right after I got my tonsils removed, and I almost died. Actually, my son was just born, so my son was born right around my pro debut time, and I got my tonsils removed because I kept getting sinus infections that would go into my tonsils and cause infection.
Oh, yeah.
And they kept giving me antibiotics.
Terrible. Yeah.
This is something that's been going on my whole life.
Yeah, and if you have so many in a year, they got to take
They had
tonsils.
to.
Yeah, you can't take antibiotics like that.
Exactly. It starts messing you up. So I went to pick him up out of the tub. He slipped, and you're not supposed to pick him up. And it ruptured, and all the blood was going in my lungs, and I didn't know. My mom saw me, and she's like, "Are you bleeding?" Because she's like, saw a little bit of blood in my mouth. And she's like, "Come with me, we're going to the hospital." I'm like, "We don't have to go to the hospital." By the time I get there, I can't even talk because it all like hardened in my throat.
Thank God for Mom.
And she saved me more than you know from myself 1,000 times.
Believe it, that's what the moms are there for.
Dude, and I'm literally fading out. Like they asked me what was wrong, and all of a sudden I couldn't talk because it was like hardened in my throat. So I'm like, and I start fading out, and I can't talk. And she tells them, and they rush me in, and all of a sudden I see like, it's like out of a movie, like see all these lights, and then it's just going, whoop, 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 like fading out. And the doctor grabs me, dude. He like pulls my head back, and he shoves this thing down my throat. And my mom walks in the door. She walks in, and I just puke up a bunch of blood, and she's screaming.
Oh man!
But it saved my life.
Yeah,
straight up, it saved my life.
Wow.
But I had to be in the hospital for like over a week till they because they had to burn. They had to burn the cuts. So like, it was a nightmare, man.
That
it was
sounds
the most painful I've ever been in my life because I had a fight coming up, and I wanted to get off the pain medication and all the stuff that I was on because I have a fight coming up.
Yeah, you got to test.
But they burned the inside of my mouth, so like I would like take a break from it, and I'd wake up and I'd be in so much. You don't realize how bad you need it when you need it.
Absolutely.
And it was so. They gave me like some liquid stuff. I don't even know what it was, man. And I'm telling you, dude, I was in so much pain. I was like, I thought like it felt like hot coal in my throat, like someone was burning me from the inside out. So I lost a bunch of weight, had to take the fight, still took the fight on like 3 weeks' notice. Walked in there looking like a noodle, man, like muscle, lost all my strength.
Yeah.
Still won the fight, went to decision after the second round. I had like 110 strikes to like 6 going into the third round because all this dude just tried to wrestle me, and I was just picking them apart. Won that fight. And then, continued from there was like the start of my real pro career, and then just kept trying to push.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, back to the Ultimate Fighter. What was that experience like,
That was wild because the thing about the Ultimate Fighter was I didn't really plan on it. I actually bailed on it a couple years before because my daughter was born, and it was like during COVID.
Right, because you were on the Contender first, right?
Yeah, so I was on the Contender, and I fought Montel Jackson, who right now I think is 19th in the world.
Right.
Wow.
And that fight was really, really awkward, really funny. Like I got poked in the eye like 3 or 4 times. I think, honestly, if you look it up, it might have the most penalized situations in a fight in history that never got finished because I didn't want to feel that type of, like, I didn't want to like stop with them having their eyes on me. I was like, even though I can barely fucking see, if I can see this dude's foot, I want to go down swinging regardless because I didn't want them to. I wouldn't have get my shot.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing about. I feel like Contender Series is so tough because you're going in there like, if I don't do it right,
one shot.
Yeah,
what are the odds of them bringing you back?
Yeah.
So it's like I got these eye pokes like real bad. The first one the ref didn't see was real bad, like real bad, and then it happened again, and I got hit in the nuts and the back head. There was a lot of penalties, but realistically, the only one that really bothered me was the eye gouge, because now I'm like, the way that I'm seeing everything was really, funky.
Yeah.
So now I couldn't really see him properly, and he's a real long, real quality fighter. Like, a very, very good high-level guy. Probably the best guy I've ever fought.
Right, he knows how to use that length. Yeah.
And, dude, I was like, you know what? If I I'm just going to see where his feet are at. So I just remember getting as close as I could to his legs and just fucking bombs at him, because I'm like, listen, I'll go big or go home.
Yeah,
and at this point, like, I don't want to let him just get on top of me, smother me, beat me up. It's like, listen, we're going to start this back on my feet every time. And I know I can put anybody out if I get a chance to put him on him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
of course.
And he's long, so if I can get him after he throws and get a counter and get in on him, and I was trying to knock him fucking dead.
Nah, you were going for it, for sure.
It didn't work out that way, but I learned a lot. I learned how to, like, you can't get emotional in fights. You got to really dial in when shit like that happens. You got to really go back to your training and really be measured. Think about what you're doing, because like, I shouldn't have come out like as emotional and as aggressive. I could have set up things a little better. I could have been a little more even keeled. I could have had a different approach. Stop going for fake for punches. Stop level changing, going for takedowns. Maybe burn some time on top. Get myself collected again.
And maybe your vision comes back.
Exactly. There's a million different things I could have done. But at that point, I was like, fuck it. I gotta go for it. But hey, you learn from it. And
teaches you gotta, deal with some bad reffing sometimes.
Exactly. And that actually kind of pulled into, like, the Ultimate Fighter. Yeah. So, like, now you're asking me about the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
Really, really different experience, because, like, you go, first of all,
living in a house with guys, that's got to be strange.
I feel like that makes it weird. Yeah,
it's so crazy, because there's so much cool footage that they didn't show, man. It was
I'm sure.
amazing.
I always feel that way.
They had to clip it super fast, because I think the deal with ESPN, so everything was just like boom, 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 boom.
It's much shorter now than the older seasons. There was much more stuff in the house.
This season would have been so dope to have the inside information, because it was like we were all so, like, ill professionals, but we all, like, had fun with each other. We all busted each other's balls. Some people really didn't like each other, so it was a lot of
it seemed like the only real bad negative people were between Roosevelt Roosevelt Roberts and that other dude. I don't think so. I don't remember who it was, but I know he had a little bit of beef with somebody. They was going back and
That's about all they showed.
Landon and Rowe.
Yeah, that's all they showed, anyways, on the show.
There was more
and
stuff.
maybe a little argument between
Cody
Katona and Cody.
He rubbed
Gibson,
people the wrong way. I actually like Brad, but I think he's just a different type of dude. People
he's
don't
just
get him.
a character.
He's just like
that's what it seems
like.
Got
a little bit of a serial killer vibe.
Yeah, but we would like pretend like we would like write notes to him, like, in a serial, like, don't kill anybody. Are there any bodies under your bed? Like, we know about. Remember, there's cameras here, Brad.
Yeah,
like, we would bust his balls. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't like. He's very like.
He's super.
Why would you think that?
I liked him. Me and my wife, we watched The Ultimate Fighter, and she didn't like him for that reason. And I'm like, I like him. She was like, that's just because you're a sociopath too. And I'm like, call it what you want, but I like Brad.
No, I just think he's a different mind for fighters. Like, he's like, everybody's different, right? He's not like your typical, like, wow, boy, like, fighter. He's very, like, calculated. He's very, like...
Seem very reserved.
Everything he does is for a reason. He does, like, he has everything planned out. He's very specific. He's very, like... he's like an engineer. You know what I mean? He's very,
like a sociopath.
Yeah, probably.
So that's so funny.
But the crazy thing about the Ultimate Fighter, like I was saying, is I didn't even. So the first time I got offered to do it during 2020, I kind of had to decline it because my daughter was being born, and I knew I wouldn't have been able to.
Respect for that.
I would have been. It was hard to do because, like, where I'm at with my age and what was going on in my career and whatnot. Like, they're not gonna, like, keep calling you if you bail out on them. They're gonna. UFC don't give a damn.
No,
they're cold.
especially Dana, man.
Because listen, they're
too many people.
They don't give a damn. There's always, like, they're cutthroat. The ultimate cutthroat.
Yeah.
But they're real. So it's like I just knew I couldn't do it. I just knew I couldn't do it. And I'm like, listen, it's up to in God's hands at this point because
props to you putting family first.
Yeah, it had to be done. I wouldn't have fought well. I would have been a mess. You know what I mean? I would have been a head case.
Right.
But so fast forward 2 years. I come off my knee surgery, which was during that, which was a nightmare to come back from because I had to do a whole meniscus reattachment after a major bucket tear, which I just had surgery again, but this time we cut it out.
Yeah.
But trying to go fast to get everything. But yeah, so like the Ultimate Fighter was like. This time was wild because first of all, they call us all in. And there's a bunch of guys there, and we're sitting at a hotel, and we're getting prepped, and we're doing all the drills and all the things like that they're checking off. We don't even know if we're actually picked.
Wow.
So like the all of a sudden you see people that you're going to like the gym with or the training with or like doctor's office with, and then all of a sudden he's not there the next day because we're locked in a hotel for like the whole day, so you can't even leave your room. So you do your training, and then you go to your room. You go to your training because they don't, they
don't want you talking to nobody about nothing.
Everything's hush hush. They don't even want anybody to know who's there.
How long are you home before the show airs?
Like a month or two.
And so, like, and
you can't say nothing.
Can't say
no, because I've heard stories I'm taking people's money, and I can say it now because I got the knockout of the season bonus.
Yeah.
I got that fucking extra bonus, which was huge for me.
Nice.
So I was like, I am not saying shit to nobody. I ain't even telling my family. I ain't telling nobody nothing. I can't take away from my paper. You know what I mean?
That's gotta be tough.
It's gotta be
super hard. It's like I just want to tell my boys, like, yo, I fucking smoke this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the number one guy. Nobody believed in me. You know what I mean? I fucking stepped. Like, it's you put in that work. You put in all that. You want to at least showcase, tell your close friends a little bit. Absolutely. I don't really care about the rest, but like the people that, been backing me forever,
and
that
the people that
believe in me, that's what I want to tell them. You know what I'm saying?
The people that care as much as you do.
How'd you feel about having Conor McGregor as your coach?
Like I loved it because, like I said, I met Michael Chandler in Bellator that first time, and he rubbed me the wrong way a little bit.
So already you knew who you wanted to be with.
Yeah, I just didn't. So, like I said, I won a fight, and I went up to talk to him. He kind of just like brushed me off and was kind of like too cool for me, and like just like whatever. And I'm like, that shit sticks with me.
Yeah, of course.
Like I was young, that was my first big fight on a big stage, in front of big people, like, and he just like literally like was so arrogant to me that I was just like, I'll never forget this shit. That's why when I see him on TV and all this stuff, and he's perfect and blah blah, I'm like, you're a phony, bro.
Yeah. He has the air of an elitist.
Yeah, he tries to be so perfect. He's trying too hard, man. Be you, be real. Like you can't be perfect all the time. I don't care who you are.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It just don't make sense, dude. Like there's something about him that just is not fucking authentic, dude. And maybe he might be as close to that guy as possible, right?
Yeah.
But I don't care who you are. You ain't that 110%.
No, right. You can't be. So it seems.
And think about Conor, man, and like all my family. Like I have a lot of Irish family. I got a lot of people that I grew up in Peabody.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, just for whatever reason, the way that they go around about their camp and the way they do stuff is awesome, man. They work their ass off, but they have fun doing it. Like everybody's different, right? It's all about really kind of who you are. Like. I feel like if you look at like Kazakhstan, Russia, like those type of guys, they're very, 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 very serious in the gyms, but that benefits some people. Some people need that structure to the fullest, right? And some people need to be like free and kind of have fun and loose. Like you watch the Aussies and like and the guys from Ireland and like they're having fun, but they're working their ass off. But they're not like putting pressure on themselves. You know what I mean? It's like. They're free, and it showcases in their fights. You know what I'm saying? That's
exactly. I get that a lot.
And everybody learns different.
Yes.
Everybody progresses different.
There's times where, listen, don't get me wrong. Like if I'm slacking on something, then I know I can't get it. Like I'm not messing around at all. Everybody else get out the room. Me and my boy, we're doing this until we get it like 100%. Like and there's no messing around. But like, in the middle of camp, right before a fight, after you've done all the hard work, now it's time to enjoy yourself. Feel free, open up a little bit to give yourself that. To be natural. So you're not forcing nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, I 100% can understand that.
And Conor and those boys, man, they're exactly like that.
Kings of that, yeah.
They'll talk trash while they're sparring and fighting and this, that, whatever, but they're also like, there's times where everything just gets real serious and real crazy. You know what I'm saying?
I was watching before one of the fights when Conor was training with you, and it's one of the things I really like about him. Is one of his training methods is like, do it slow until you get it perfect. Because if you go fast, you lose the technical side of it.
And it's funny because that's how I teach a lot of dudes I teach kickboxing with, because especially they don't have the technique yet.
Of course.
They think they do. And everybody just wants to go hard. Dude, you think you have the technique. You're not even close. Like, you want a slow motion as this hand's pumping, this hand is defending 100%. As this is about to return, this is returning. So everything's very technically sound. You're not out of position.
Absolutely.
Then you build off of that. You know what I'm saying? And what it does, my boxing coach, Eddie Alvarez, over in Salem, he's huge on that type of stuff because, like, what he says, too, is, and it works because we've been drilling it, it's like when you're defending properly, your punches offensively are actually more crisp. Right. Because you're in a more balanced, clean position. So, like, if you're like sloppy and up, and opening up, your punch isn't going to be as hard because you're not as based and as balanced. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when everything is working right and you're nice and balanced, think of it as like the Karate Kid with the drum, boom, 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 boom. Everything just snaps
momentum.
Exactly. There's a science behind it for real. Like, and it makes sense once you start drinking. Like, oh my God, that hook seems so much stronger, and I didn't throw as much power. It's just because it was clean. You know what I mean? But that's like, that's everything in martial arts. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It really is. It's all the foundation. It builds from there.
So from watching your first fight in the house against Hunter Azur, like I had to rewatch these. I wanted to make sure I was sharp and on point. And man, like you went through the fire in the first round, and to be honest with you, it was super impressive of your ground defense. Like there was a lot of times where a lot of guys would be in severe trouble, but you were able to maintain. And then you come in the second round with the overhand right and the Hulk smash knockout, which I remember just watching
That's
it live.
That's got to be an iconic Ultimate Fighter moment.
Yeah, no, that's never been done for sure.
No.
Yeah.
Conor in the back, he's like, that's never been done.
So in my head was,
like, he's like,
did you plan for that or did you just feel it in the moment?
no, man, you don't plan for stuff like that. But it's funny, if you look at all my fights, every
that a
fight that I've
finisher?
ever won, I do that after every fight.
Yeah.
If you watch after, I fucking double
afterwards.
slam every single time I've ever won a fight. That was like a big finish.
Yes.
If you wait like 30 seconds and you watch, I do that every time. Like you watch one, even as an amateur, I was watching one as Rise of a Warrior, and I finished the dude, and Dean Thomas is on the mic. And it's Dean Thomas, and I forget the other guy's name, and I fucking like bang, bang, bang. And he's like, well, that's the craziest ground and pound we've seen all day. And whatever. And he's like, and it was to the canvas and whatever. And it's like something I've realized. I'm like, I've been doing that forever. I've done that at least 30 times.
Of course.
And the weird part is like, so that setup is something I've worked on a bunch of times, is because like I kicked him, I switched stances. And then when I switch back, 'cause these are the things that people don't really see. I switch stances again, and now I'm closer and have a different angle, and he doesn't realize it. So he's pouring out his jab. And if you actually watch it in slow motion, I don't just throw an overhand right. I actually grab the lead hand of his jab hand and pull it in a little bit.
Pull the jab.
So just a little bit. See that, how you jerk a little bit?
Yeah.
So now you can't fade away to the punch. Now you're in it. You have no choice. So like now it's just, and it wasn't super fast. It was heavy, but I was sitting down, but it was accurate. And it was just like,
and the pole, kept him right in the pocket.
there. There's no fading from it. He's not wrong with it at all.
Nothing.
It was just like, that's why you see him just collapse.
Clipped a little of the neck a little.
Yeah, man. And that's the big thing. Like anywhere, jaw, ear, here, equilibrium.
And it's crazy too. Even when watching the fight, I consider myself to be very good at noticing.
Little details.
Well, not just little details, but when a person's about to fight, not every time, but there are times I'm watching a fight and I look at the fighter as he's coming down, and when he's waiting for his name to be called, and I'll be like, yo, they don't look right. I said that about the last time, before Conor broke his leg and he lost to Dustin Poirier. I saw it. When Amanda Nunes lost to Juliana Pena, I saw it. And when you was coming down and when you was in the octagon, I'm like, yo, I know he wins this fight, but he's ready. Like, you could see it, the focus you had ready for that fight. Like, you knew what was going to happen.
The weird thing is, like, I've put in so much work with some of the best on the planet. And the thing is, a lot of these guys are watching my video on the Ultimate Fighter, because you get to watch one video or something.
Yeah.
And, like, the footage that they looked up when they're in the hotel while we're waiting to fight, waiting to get selected, all that footage is from when I was an amateur, like, 10 years ago.
Yeah,
so they don't see, they probably think, like, I'm literally 10 years of a fighter that I am today. And it's good and bad, because it bothers me, because like I want all that footage from my kids, man. I got some sick knockout footage. I got some cool stuff. I want for highlights for when I'm retired and whatnot.
That switch teep.
Oh man, stuff like that. Like stuff like that. I want like, I got some really cool footage, dude, that like is just gone. It sucks. I got to try to get it back, but like it is what it is. But in a way, when it comes to the actual fight game, it's good, because these dudes look at me and they're like, oh, this dude's sloppy here, sloppy there. I'm like, yeah, I was sloppy there 8 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
But all that just makes for a better win. Like you said earlier, you went against their number one guy, the number one ranked guy, and so all the pressure's supposed to be on you.
All week, people coming up to me like, dude, you're fighting Hunter. He's a beast. So he beat the guy that won the, Brad Katona won the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
So when they went to the UFC, he fought Brad in the UFC, and he beat Brad.
Yeah.
So Brad just won it again for the second time.
Exactly.
And he's the only guy that's beaten Brad. Brad's a stud.
And that's a tough one.
You know what I'm saying?
Brad is a stud, and to be honest with you, I mean, I'm biased because you're Boston native, but I thought that would have been the better fight.
Oh man, to be honest, if you notice, going back to that Hunter fight, right?
I love the matchup with you and Brad. Honestly, I thought that was
the biggest thing that's crazy. If you realize what changed everything is, like, if you notice in the second round, I come out completely different.
Yeah.
Like I literally drop my fucking hands down like this. I sit down, and now like my stance and everything is completely different, because Hunter's a fantastic wrestler especially against the cage. I'm very, very good at stuffing takedowns. That's like what I base my whole career on, pretty much. Because a lot of these guys
stand and bang. Yeah.
But what he does is, I'm going to be fighting a lot of high-level wrestlers that don't want to strike with me.
Right.
So, like, but against the cage, his chain wrestling was fantastic. And the biggest thing was, like, that's fine with me. I don't care. But if I can get out of that position and get back to the middle, it's going to have a lot more harder for him to get me down.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing was this time I'm like, dude, I don't even care. I'll let him throw at me. I dropped my hands all the way down.
I saw it.
And sat down. I made the adjustment. And if you notice, that second round, everybody
was
said
even
they won.
putting your head out.
Yeah. Purposely that made him throwing him, pull and baiting him in. Because I know my range, especially after the first round, I knew how he's striking. And I know, like, my range very, very, very well. That's, like, something I pride myself on. So, like, from there, now that my hands are low, like, how are you going to take me down when I can just stuff, like, here, keep the distance? It's way harder. And now, every time he throws, he better be really careful about how he throws because I'm coming in hot with a counter. And it's like, I'm telling you, I'm going to knock you out if you miss, bro. You better not miss. Now I'm getting in his head. I'm like, and he believed it. I believed it. I know I was going to.
100%. And you could, like I said,
you could see it. You could feel that energy because after that first round, once I stuffed a couple of takedowns and he couldn't get close, I was like, okay, he knows that this is no joke. Like, I'm trying to take his head off.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And then it forces him to strike too, because any way to get his hands on you, he's got to throw a couple to get in.
Or freezes him up, right? So it's like now you're starting to get into my world a little more and more. So that's the name of the game, man. You got to try to lead the dance. You got to try to keep it in your, wherever. Sometimes you got to wrestle to win. Sometimes you got to jiu-jitsu to win. Sometimes you got to box to win. But whatever you get the upper hand, keep it there.
Absolutely. And obviously we didn't get the result we wanted in the second fight. And that, like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like giving anybody anything, but that slip sucked.
Well, the thing about it was, here's the reason. Because first of all, like that early in a fight, Cody's a fantastic guy on top. Like I slipped into a body lock.
Yeah,
it's like it went dry.
Right into the triangle on your back. Yeah, absolutely.
That's like the one thing I was saying to
him earlier.
It's like, but that's insane, and it's like it's nuts too because like. I pride myself on footwork and position and knowing that type of stuff. Like for me to slip out was like that never ever happened.
And it was you could tell it was just such like a bad like just bad luck misstep.
Oh my god!
I'm like, man. And then it was even cool at the end of the round. You slipped out the back door and it was just like
you didn't make it easier.
The thing was though was like after that like he had a body lock is so hard for so long, especially early on when you're not like. 'Cause a lot of times I get out of that, but dude, it was so dry. It was like clamped down on me, like in the first 10 seconds of a fight, dude. Probably first like 30 seconds of a fight when you have no sweat yet or whatever. I'm like, oh, this is like. And honestly, I thought I kind of got out, but dude, I was so burnt out from fucking eating that position the whole time. That
and I feel like you had to have like
maybe
Indian burn on your abs because you spun like 3 times.
I was trying to do anything I could. To a point. You start like because think about it. Like if you're gonna lose that position, like I should have. I don't know. I could have, would have, should have. Right?
It's always
drives you nuts, but. It is what it is. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. I would have loved. I want that fight back 1,000-fold because I know, like, especially like the stand-up aspect of it is like if he doesn't get me down within like that first half of that fight, and every time he's gonna try to, it's gonna get harder and harder for him. My striking, man, like I would have opened him up so bad, and it would have made him get sloppier and sloppier.
Yeah, and he would have just got discouraged as you stuffed his takedowns.
Everybody knows, man. My MMA striking, dude, is on like especially
it's high level. I mean,
very, 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 very high level, and like they don't realize it till they're in there with me, and then things change. But hey,
well, you're
like
very
you said on
long
the show,
bantamweight. Yeah. I was telling him, I'm like, yo, this dude's like about as tall as me. I'm like, but on TV, he looks like he's 6'6".
Well, it's like styles and the way that you move, right? You gotta fight long.
Yeah.
I have a really long reach, so I think my reach is like 72 inches, right? So like, it also depends on how you utilize your stance. Everybody fights with a different stance, has a different like. Body structure, so all of that. That's why MMA is the best sport in the world.
Your stance
so many
looks
different
a little
matchups, so much different
hybrid boxing with the karate. Though
everything.
You see that karate base in there.
It depends on what's happening in front of me. There'll be times where I'll be in like a straight karate stance. There'll be times where I'm almost like real low boxing. That's why MMA, I love it, man. It's just like different styles, make different fights completely out of the same type of people. You know what I mean? You can like have a different style of a fight yourself because you're fighting someone different. It's just it's the best. It really
And
is.
I agree with what you said on the show. The first time you hit Cody, he didn't want.
Oh,
he realized
man,
he didn't
like,
want
I
to
could feel
strike.
it, like he was just even the leg kick, everything.
Yeah,
touched
he didn't
him, and,
want
like,
to strike.
He just looked at me like he's seen something different because like the fakes and the level changes I'm doing. I mean, he was just like,
it was not
whoa.
what he was expecting.
Yeah, you gave him a gift. Like,
Yeah, it is what it is.
Like he knew that, and I agree 100%.
and he had a knee injury, I guess. Too.
Yeah,
so it's like
that's
he was
what they
probably
said.
fighting like nervous. Mm-hmm. So it was like every time I think of it, it makes me sick.
Right when you
But it's
kicked the
alright.
leg, it probably made
Yeah,
him
that's
more
what I'm saying. It
nervous.
probably made him like, oh shit, like he knows, whatever.
One of my biggest questions about the season when it came to fighting, it was one of the things I guess I had a problem with it, but he was your coach. How'd you feel about the fact that Conor never got in the octagon when like in between rounds? In between rounds.
To be honest, I kind of so the way that's set up, I don't mind it at all
like
because
as the
it's super
second.
quiet.
Right.
So we're in the apex. You don't really hear anything. There's only like 100 people in there.
Yeah, okay.
So like the biggest thing, honestly, I think it's good because a guy like Conor's so bigger than life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to take it away and get your focus on like other things while he's in there.
All right.
You know what I mean? Like as a fighter, like and like he can say something and it kind of takes everything out of everybody. And like you don't understand, everybody that was in there for the corner are Connor's coaches, man.
Yeah,
They're world
exactly.
class.
Yeah, world class.
You got John Kavanaugh, you got Coach, you got all the best guys in the world.
Of
You got
course.
Coach Roddy, you got fucking Kean, you got. Even Connor's original boxing coach Phil was there, like from like when he was a little kid, and he's the one that worked with me a lot about stuff. You know, I worked with all those guys. His wrestling coach, who actually changed my single that actually worked in the single defense, that worked in the fight, that was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, we got to work with all their coaches, and honestly, it's better because now Conor floating around the gym, to be honest, is a part where he goes, I'm fighting, and I can hear. Double jab, backhand, Rico, backhand, and I know that he said backhand. He heard me say backhand. So I changed it to low kicks because I want him to think I'm going high. Then I went low, and then he would say that, and I would go opposite. So it was kind of good. Every time he gave advice, I was like thinking the opposite way of whatever he's saying. I'm finding the opening somewhere else because it's going to freeze him a little bit. It's like almost like reverse psychology.
Yeah.
And that's where the fight
dope.
game gets deep.
So in your opinion, it was actually better.
I liked it for me.
Yeah.
For
All
me,
right, cool. That changes my opinion.
Yeah,
about the whole
because
situation,
realistically, you got to realize I'm doing pad work with those guys.
Right, those are the guys
They're
you're
watching me
working with
training.
every
I
day.
sparred with Conor a bunch of times and
Yep.
stuff. So we all kind of know where we're at, but like we also had a specific game plan. You know what I mean? So like.
And those are the guys you built the game plan with.
Yeah, and they know me.
Yeah.
So like, if you notice, they come in the second round, they're like, Rico, you got to be the sniper on this one. Pull it out of him. Get low. Drop those hands and be the sniper. And I'm like, fucking, you're damn right. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, they've been talking to me all camp so they can get you like where you need to be. You know what I mean?
That's
So it actually
awesome.
worked out perfect. And then plus Conor can float around and kind of be like another corner man wherever he wants to be.
Yeah. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah, it worked out.
And his energy keeps you.
Oh
hyped,
man,
too,
his
energy.
Another
is-
thing, real quick. So
his
after
energy
that
must be
nobody
great.
knows, I can spoil it now because the show is over. My boy Charles Rosa snuck in the building.
Shout out Charlie Rose.
Yeah, dude. So he snuck in the building. Was there for my weigh-ins the day before because he was a UFC fighter at the time, and so he comes in, finds out that we're cutting weight, blah blah blah. He finds out what time the date is, the fight is. I don't know how. Someone gave him a jersey, something, whatever. He might have snuck in. He snuck in the building. So he snuck in, man. And I'm coming out to walk out, and I see Charles with like a big, like Boston Bruins type like shirt. I'm like, I'm thinking I'm bugging out because he's always at my fights. We've been best friends. His brothers got me into martial arts. His brothers taught us. They both passed away, but they're the ones that got us into the sport.
Okay.
So when I see him, I'm thinking I'm bugging, man, because he's in. How the fuck are you in the apex right now? You can't be in there. Nobody's in there, dude. You know what I mean? Nobody. So I see him, and I'm like, oh, it can't be him. Dude looks like I'm like, don't pay attention to it. And then I just like look, and then he's right there, and I'm like, holy shit. So after the second round, they told him like, you're not supposed to be in here. We don't know how you, because they figured it out, and they're like, you can't say nothing. You haven't even signed a waiver yet, whatever. Or if you did, I don't know. They're like, you can't say nothing. Fucking second round, he's fucking right next to the cage. He's like, fucking show him who you are. He goes smashing, going nuts, like wilding out. So I fucking knock out Hunter. Connor jumps in. He runs around the ring going fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You can't really see. Some shit happens. He's talking shit to some of the guys. He comes back in, hops the fence, jumps over, grabs me. Charles is all the dudes from the other team, like Rowe and all those dudes, were saying some shit. And Charles was like, "Shut up, let him have his moment. Like, let him have his moment. Let my boy have his moment." And they're like, "Fuck you." And he's like, "Oh, fuck you." And then they stop fighting. So they almost get into a beef right there. So they almost start fighting. So now they start coming down. Then all of a sudden, security starts grabbing Charles. Charles is pushing security out the way. They're trying to tackle Charles. Turns into fucking mayhem. Connor jumps the friggin' fence. He's like, him and Charles versus them dudes. Like chaos. I'm like, yo,
damn,
what the fuck?
Man, wow.
It was like ESPN killed us.
But it was
Charles Rose out.
It would have been so dope because it almost turned into something and nothing really happened. So it didn't hurt nothing. Nobody got hurt. Nobody did nothing crazy.
Right.
But that's the shit people want to see.
That's the moment for the show.
Connor's like, "Boston strong, baby. Tell them who you are." Like going fucking.
That was great to hear yell at that.
Dude, but after he's like, "Rosa will fucking whop the floor with him and this that and Rowe and all them dude are like, "We'll fucking smoke." They're all talking mad shit too. So it was like because they don't care. They're fighters, bro.
Yeah.
They ain't worried about nothing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And they had a little team, so it was like literally it was fucking chaotic as shit.
It makes more sense for the scene that they did show us why Roosevelt is so mad after.
Right.
Because the way they show it.
And I love Roe, dude. I love all those dudes.
You get the win, and then Roosevelt's mad. I'm like, why would Roe be mad?
You don't see what happened. You don't see that they almost got into a big beef about all that.
That makes sense.
And then, dude, it was fucking hilarious, though, because then I see Charles getting, dragged out by security. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? It's a good job, bro.
Yeah. That's such a cool story, man.
Wild.
Thanks for sharing that one.
That was wild. Yeah, I can't get fined now. They already paid.
No, you already got paid. All right, let's get through these last two.
And Charles Rosa don't care.
No, you don't give a damn.
Let's get through these last two. What's it like, training some of these up-and-comers while you're also still, doing stuff for yourself?
So right now it's awesome. So I train over at my buddy Kyle Bokniak, former UFC guy, one of the baddest featherweights there was for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. After he hurt his knee in his last fight, he retired and he opened up his gym, and it's been awesome because now he trains in North Andover. He opens up a beautiful, beautiful facility in North Andover, and we got a great kids program, and we got a really good, just all around everywhere program. But the best part is a lot of these guys came in we got high level black belts and high level guys, but then we have the rest of them are all pretty fresh that are coming up under us.
Nice.
So it's great because now they don't have bad habits, they don't have anything, and they're developing super fast. They're getting really good. And they're learning the sport properly. They're learning,
as mixed martial arts.
Yeah, as jiu-jitsu, but they do jiu-jitsu, they do kickboxing, they do boxing, they do wrestling, they do everything, but they're coming into, they also do MMA classes. So they're developing all their skills at once with a structure that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And our kids program is awesome. My nephew on there. My son's been competing. He just did his first tournament for the first time and crushed it.
That's
you know
awesome.
what I mean? And he's learned all his jiu-jitsu through Kyle's gym. He does his boxing over with my coach, Eddie Alvarez, over in Salem. But I don't want him competing in boxing yet. He's too young. I'll let him do learn all the technique and all the because I think that's huge. Striking to have that is huge because eventually you're gonna need that amongst anything.
Yeah.
And just even having it in your back pocket is it's comfort, and confidence, and
everybody should train
gotta
a
know
little
how to
something.
you got to. You gotta have a little hands. You gotta have some groundwork. You got to.
Everybody should train a little
everybody, but especially police officers. I think jiu-jitsu, they should have to get a blue belt.
Absolutely.
It would settle so many things about situations and comfort and control with everything.
So many of these videos.
That's such an intelligent.
Yeah, so many of these videos.
Think about how you would feel if you could control somebody without hurting them.
More confidence.
Completely stop them or getting hurt yourself. Think about it.
Yeah, it makes all the sense.
And it's not. It would take
control situations.
You get a blue belt if you train 3-4 times a week, in a year.
So many situations where they, lose control of a suspect could be fixed with an underhook.
Oh my God, dude, a knee on belly, and then turn him over and just literally a rear naked choke position, just hold him.
All these videos I see most of the time, I'm like, just get an underhook and you'll have him.
And how much fear it would alleviate? Because I don't care who you are, the uniform and the gun doesn't take away the fear. It just allows you to know that you have. But if you don't have the fear because you can defend yourself,
it's there. Think about it. If I'm a cop, right, and I'm going against a dude,
now you're scared to shoot.
Not only that, I'm worried about if I get in a situation he can grab my gun and it's a problem. I'd rather fucking take my gun, throw it aside. Now let's grapple.
Right. Exactly.
You ain't getting it. And
exactly. It's too far away, and you ain't.
But you have to know that they aren't armed.
Absolutely.
Right? So. But like I go back with the kids and the youth like programs and stuff, and just teaching as fighting. It's cool because it's a great way to like. So like I kind of go back to basics in certain times. Everything has to go back in circles, right? Like sometimes you float away a little bit too far, and then you have to go back. I've done that a lot with my wrestling, with everything really in martial arts. And if you watch martial arts and watch MMA in general, it always has cycles of how it goes in circles, right? Like jiu-jitsu's the king, then boxing's the king, then Muay Thai's the king, then this is the king, then wrestling. Yeah. And it just constantly goes around. Like, look, Pereira came in and everybody's like, kickboxing, Muay Thai. Right. And then when Damian Maya was doing his thing and everything, go like guys in jiu-jitsu. And like, then you got like Khabib's and them like wrestling. But guess what? It's MMA, man. It's all of it. It's just,
You can't do it without all of it.
No, it's that's why it's awesome, man, and it's really just.
And that's why some of the greats are some of the greats, like guys like Islam Makhachev and John Jones, because they have the like a high level and almost the whole complete package. Man. Yeah,
and the biggest thing too, like a John Jones, is he's very unique style to himself. He doesn't just limit himself to like traditional arts, and this is what my coach taught me a long time ago, and it's really helped me develop. Was like you bring these high level guys into a gym, into like a sit your tongue, like a Muay Thai gym, right? You can teach them Muay Thai. You can't turn them into a traditional Muay Thai striker or fighter. Right. What you do is you utilize those teachings and skills to make them better in the way that they naturally move, right? So like that's why. So like for me, that's why he was so good at coaching me, because the way that our perspective of fighting, it's like Bruce Lee, be water, right? Be whatever it is you got to do to win, right? To be the best you can be. So like someone with Crew Mark's mentality. Shout out to Crew Mark Delagrati, one of my favorite coaches of all time, legend in Boston, still teaching at SIT, but. He would tell me, like, Rico, you come from a karate base, you have great kicks, this, blah, 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 we're teaching you Muay Thai, but, like, don't forget about that other move, because he comes from, like, he does, like, Silat, he does, like, Krav Maga, he does everything, so he understands all these striking martial arts. He does boxing, he does wrestling, he's a brown belt, and just, like, he knows all of it, so he's like, we're not doing it, we're doing MMA now. Now you have to learn to blend it and transition it seamlessly. Those guys that can blend it and transition it seamlessly become so much better, right? So, like, the traditional guy that comes like a D1 wrestling, a wrestling guy comes into MMA, he might be really good at like wrestling and boxing, and this one gets pretty far in MMA, but once you get to a point, they kind of like shit the bed. The guys that are like the best, most of them, the guys that are like the best wrestlers in MMA are guys that blend it really good.
Yeah,
and they're not the best wrestlers.
High fight IQ.
Yeah, but they're not the best wrestlers. They're guys that were like D2, D3. They kind of weren't all that great, blah, blah, but they work really hard, and they do everything else, but they can, guess what? They can blend their wrestling, their punching right into a takedown, right back up. They can throw a shot right into a kick. Right. They can level change. They're smooth. Yeah, they have like, they don't know what's happening. You're like, oh shit, his punches. Nope, there's the takedown. Like they're really, really smooth. And that is like what I think starts to really, separate guys at a high level of great talent. Like
actually, speaking of what you just said too, there was a move I meant to mention too in that first fight, and it was like one of your first moves. You went in and faked a full fake Superman punch to the leg kick. Oh my God, yo! When I saw that, I was like, damn, that was so slick.
It's funny too, in the gym, man, I hit shit like that all the time, and it's like, when it comes to a fight, like, that's what I'm talking about, being free. Like, I don't want to go in there like, I didn't know I was going to do that. I saw what I saw, and I threw that overhand, and I knew he respected my right so much that it made him do this, so his leg was a free kick to the leg. And then he's like, oh shit, now he's thinking, and now you got their senses going in overload, because they're looking up, they're looking down, they're looking this, like, what's he throwing, he throwing? Now you can start just, bang. 1-2, miss on. See, the thing is, you want to miss a lot of times to land. Put something in their face, make them overreact, land heavy. The last 2 or 3 strikes.
Exactly.
If you look at percentages on boxing or anything, most guys aren't even coming close to landing half their strikes, right?
Well, of course, yeah. Not it's even close. Somewhere in the 30 to 40%.
Yeah, and that's high percentage.
And that's super high.
You know what I mean? So like, people got to learn to set up strikes. Like those are the best strikers that like throw away punches, throw away this to make you. I'm throw this jab over here, so you slip this way. So now I throw my head kick to knock you run into
Edwards.
Yeah, just like that. And that's an old technique. That's been around forever, but he set that up beautifully.
Exactly. Man, that's awesome.
And in the MMA setting, setting up traps like that, but then worrying about grappling, like
that's why,
it's high level stuff.
Like I was saying in the gym, I hit up like Superman punches into takedowns, fakes and stuff. But that's what makes me, that's what doing it all the time. That's what gives me confidence doing it in a fight without even thinking about it. I've done that 1,000 times.
Exactly.
In the gym, You know what I mean? So like, I honestly didn't know I was gonna do that. It just happened.
Yeah, you saw the opening and you went for it. And it just made for like that beginning and the way it ended made for like such a cool and exciting fight.
It's like, dude, when he took me against the cage, when he went for that takedown, like he like clipped my nose and broke my nose with the uppercut, and then I went to the cage, and like I was in a position where I could have like committed on defending completely or elbow him, and I'm like, I hit him with an elbow.
Them
and he went a little,
elbows,
he went a little
yeah,
slow.
hit him with like
Well, here's why I kept going. So I hit him, and he was like, he reacted to it. So I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna lose possession if I keep throwing these elbows. But I could knock him out too because he's getting a little limp with it because it was like on his temple.
Yep.
So like I hit it, and I'm like, oh man, it's early on the fight. You don't want to be on your back right now. But I hit, dude. It was so I was like, it's right here.
Yeah, you got.
You're thinking all this within a second.
Yeah,
like so. I'm like, I'm losing position with my feet as I'm on to throw that elbow because he's tightening up my legs. So like I'm like, I can either completely overhook, jack him up, and split to defend, or I'm like losing position and just rip the elbow. I'm like, I can't just
stop ripping it.
Because after like the second one, he went like limp.
Yeah,
and I thought he was going. I thought I won the fight.
Yeah.
I'm like, a couple more.
I thought that was going to be it myself.
And I hit him with one of them, and it like woke him back up, dude. And he was like,
and that sometimes can be the problem too. Yeah, you can wake somebody up.
He woke up with like a charge. Like, dude, he woke up and like he
was
got like
oh
stronger.
yeah, I'm fighting.
Yeah, and he was like, dude, he's like really, really hard, like body lock. I was like, here we go. Now the fight starts.
And like you said, he's best against the fence. Like
he's really good. But that just shows, man. It's like all those little bit of, the those little conversations that you have where you have a split second to make a decision are huge. Right. People don't understand. And like you go through like 3 or 4 or 5 thoughts within a second of like, and that's really how, especially early on in rounds, it's all you have to react. Like that's why you got to drill so much where you don't think. It's just reactionary. Now it's like, all right, this is happening. Nope, got to be here.
Hours and hours.
This is going to be here. Like it just like you just do it.
Exactly.
Because you've done it so much and you have to. That's the position that you got to make. The move you got to make in that position. I mean,
I want to talk a little bit about Combat FC before we run out of time.
We're almost out.
We got 10 minutes.
We got 10 minutes. Yeah. So what's going on with the Combat FC commentating? That seems cool.
Yeah, it's fun, man. I did not expect to do it. So Sean Wheelock, legendary commentator, is working for them, and I actually met him for Bellator when I made my pro debut. He was the guy doing commentary for my fight, so that's how he knows me. He remembers, my knockout, and then he did a couple of fights of mine for Bellator. We kept in touch here and there.
And you fought Combat FC, right?
So my last fight, so...
Was that the first Combat FC event?
That was the first one. So Combat FC used to be...
based in Boston or Wilmington?
It's at Shriners Auditorium.
Shriners Auditorium.
So...
look out for that.
Yeah, it's dope. Really, really good.
Yeah, I want to go next event for
it's
sure.
Sick, bro. The way that they do the production.
I want to cover it on the show.
You should. I know Joe, he'll be all for it. Like, you guys can do whatever you want. Probably bring a camera in there, whatever you guys want to do.
That's what I was thinking.
He'll hook you guys up. He's like... The best part about that promotion, they do everything like real seamless, real easy. As long as like it's okayed through Joe and the guys, like it's everybody helps each other. Everybody's cool. Nobody steps on nobody's toes.
And I want to big up Massachusetts MMA. You know?
It runs great.
Absolutely.
And now they got so much talent. So that used to be World Championship Fighting. Just to blast through real quick. So first time I ever went to an MMA event, I went there. It was at Shriners Auditorium. It was called World Championship Fighting, and John Jones was on the card.
What?
Yeah, bro. Think of that.
That's dope.
So that was his last fight. I think he might have had one more before he got to the UFC, and then. That's history, dude. He just killed everybody. So had Joe Lozon on that card, like just a million local good guys, and guys from out of town because that's how big that promotion was. He knows Dana White. They were buddies years ago. But awesome promotion. Like I was saying, Sean Wheelock's the guy that does the commentary, who is a legendary promoter. Guy's like, I think he's done Pride. He's done like commentary guy. Sorry, he's like one of the best commentary guys in the business. And he brought me in. I was like, listen, I know I can do the tell you what I'm looking at when I'm fighting. I'm nervous about this. This isn't my wheelhouse. I fight. I don't talk. I shut up and
it's
fight.
It's a difference between just saying what you're seeing,
and saying it to a crowd and breaking it down the way that other people want to hear it, see it. It's like I know what I'm thinking and I know how my perspective of it.
Are we gonna get more of that?
Oh, I'm still. I do it with it all the time.
All right, that's awesome then. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
And that was the thing. Coming out of the Ultimate Fighter, I think gave me some confidence because we're on the mic all the time.
On the camera,
and we're on camera all the time.
So I did 1,000 interviews.
I got used to it. Yeah. So I got a little bit used to it. But the thing that's hard there is live. A lot of stuff's live.
Yeah.
So and then they drop the mic in front of me and they go, "Yo, you want to do you're gonna do the interviews?" the in-mic interview. I'm like, yo, I'm like, come on, now you guys are pushing it. But Sean Wheelock, like I said, he was the man. I was like, listen, he's like, I'll go inside with you for the first couple.
Yeah.
So he goes in the cage with me, literally walked me through it. You know, shout out to Sean, man, the nicest guy.
That's
He let my
great.
son sit with us. Like he was like, he literally broke it down for me to make it easy. He's like, listen, there's a couple things that everybody does. It's a little messed up that you got to make sure you do. You got to make sure you bring him into the camera. Because they want to walk around, their adrenaline's going, they're moving. You got to bring him into the camera. You got to. That's why you all see the.
That's why they grab him.
And that's why they're holding
That's
him.
I knew that.
It's not because they want to be close.
No,
it's because
they
they're going to
wanna
run
keep him
away.
in the
They have to keep him. You see Joe Rogan put his shoulder.
gotta keep him
on
in the
people.
frame, yeah.
You got to keep him in the frame. You got to keep him tight, and you never give up the camera.
Never
mic.
give up the mic.
First
TV
time I do
tricks.
it, I'm like, I pull him in. I'm like, yeah, take the mic. He's like running around. I was like, oh shit! But luckily, it was like the prelims, so I got a couple runs.
Yeah.
I think this is the third or fourth time I've done it, and I'm loving it. After the last one, I really settled down a little bit. I got to be me a little bit. I don't really not worried so much.
Right.
So I get in there and I just organic. You know what I mean? I'm just like,
Yeah,
you know,
when we
what I
first
saw-
started doing this, I was nervous.
it's tough. It's
you know?
different because it's just the atmosphere is so different, right?
Yeah.
Like it messes with your mind a little
Absolutely.
bit. But once you get to like just talking about what you enjoy, it gets simple.
And that's the thing. Once if you enjoy something, you could talk about it just
Right.
naturally. And all right, before we head out, what's next for Rico?
So, like I said, about 5 weeks ago, I tore my meniscus right as I got a couple opportunities.
Okay.
So, like that day, I got some phone calls for some short notice stuff and some things, and tore my knee. And but it wasn't the worst because luckily it was. I got a bucket tear in my meniscus, and I got that reattached. So it was like this was a couple years ago during COVID, like I was saying, right around that Ultimate Fighter time as I was coming back, and then so after the fight. After the Ultimate Fighter, I was coming back. I was already in the gym, just training, really hard, just getting prepped for whatever comes next. Because they told me to be ready for a short notice opportunity. So you got to keep your weight down. You got to stay ready. And
because I was hoping you were one of them guys that
I thought they
don't
were-
win the Ultimate Fighter,
they
but
put
end up in
on.
there anyway.
Everybody, so they have my division 2 is stacked, so they pretty much you got to be
so stacked.
wait for short notice opportunities.
Exactly.
That's how they do it now, pretty much, because it's slammed. So I was ready, and then I tore my meniscus again, the exact same thing, complete bucket tear, but this time they just cut it out. I was like,
Nice.
I talked to my doctor. He's the guy that I trained with for years. He's a specialist. He knows the sport. He's done jiu-jitsu. I trained him for an amateur fight title. He won, and
nice.
he owns his own practice, so he knows what it takes and what it's going to do to my knee. He's like, listen, let's just cut it out this time because you have no arthritis. You had stuff floating around in there. I cleaned it out completely. He's like, you have no meniscus. No ACL tear, no MCL tear. Everything else is fine. He's
Awesome.
like, just your meniscus. So cleaned out 6 weeks ago. 3 days ago, I'm deadlifting, bench pressing. I've already been
healing
training.
well.
Oh, I'm way ahead of schedule.
That's way ahead. Yeah.
That's great.
So now I've already been sparring. I've already been doing jiu-jitsu, but not like full speed wrestling and jiu-jitsu because I just want to be safe with it for now.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, looking to get something probably. I think I'll be 100% ready for a fight by like September, October, November.
Fantastic.
That's
Definitely.
dope.
So
That's
and then from
dope.
there, I want to get definitely 1, maybe 2 fights before the end of the year.
All right. Well, that's
Sounds
got to
great.
be a wrap for us.
In the next Combat FC is what, September?
September, yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
We're going to be there for that, for
We
sure.
will be there for
Yeah.
that. We'll try to cover it best we can.
Hell yeah, you guys, like I said, if you want, I'll talk to Joe, get you guys like a media patch, you guys can do whatever, videotape, whatever.
Absolutely.
It'll
Awesome.
be great. You guys will have a blast.
I want
in
to
there. Good fights,
pick
too.
up Combat FC.
Good fights,
absolutely.
man.
Yeah, the
Really good
guys,
fights.
like you said, guys going right to the UFC
Yeah.
after, you
A
know?
lot of good local talent.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
It's been a
absolutely, bro.
pleasure.
Pleasure.
Until next week, you guys have a good night.
Peace.
Peace.